The United Nations says Europe needs to share the burden of the growing refugee crisis. It says each country must take in 200,000 migrants.
This stern warning comes as hundreds of families remain stranded in Hungary, desperate to travel to other parts of Europe. Hungary is just one of many European nations that are overwhelmed by migrants trying to escape war in Syria and other countries. Sarah Crowe is here. She's the Chief of Crisis Communications for UNICEF. Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate it. I want to ask you, Sarah, about words that have just come out from Prime Minister of Britain, David Cameron.
Anyone who saw those pictures overnight couldn't help but be moved, and as a father I feel deeply moved by the sight of that young boy on a beach in Turkey. And Britain is a moral nation and we will fulfil our moral responsibilities. That's why I sent the Royal Navy to the Mediterranean. That saved thousands of lives.
He's saying that he's dispatching the Royal Navy to help with the situation in the Mediterranean. Is that what more European countries need to be doing?
Well, sometimes what's extraordinary about this is that sometimes one photograph can really change the course of history. That was a wake-up call to the world not to forget Syria. There will only be an end to this misery if there's an end to the conflict in Syria, Iraq and Afghanistan. And that's what's pushing people into Europe. A plea, a desperation for their children who are out of school. 2 million children in Syria are out of school. So they want a better life and they need a better life. And the laws are in place. And countries like Britain and all over Europe need to be implementing those laws. That means treating children first and foremost as children, not as migrants first or refugees first. And they need special treatment. We've seen those horrific images which have shocked and ricocheted around the world. But now we're also, thankfully, seeing some action, which is only good news.
But this is a crisis that has been going on long before this photo was released. Why did it take so long to prod people to act?
Well, I think that once you put a child's face on a crisis like this, it does really start to change people's minds because they think of their own children. They think of what could have been. The promise, the hope of a body of a child on a beach is just so incongruous that it does really horrify, but also it does trigger action. And what we do know is that there are more and more children coming through. There's been an increase. We know now, just from today, our people in Macedonia and Gevgelia are telling us that there are 5,000 refugees coming through on a daily basis. And what we've seen different from some months ago is that there are more women and children. We believe this is because the schools are starting up. Most of these people are sort of middle class. They've got some form of income, which means they can afford the journey. And once they're there, they're looking for help. They want to keep moving on, and they know now that the countries that are taking them in are going to, they hope, provide some refuge. But nobody's doing enough, and time is of the essence because winter's going to set in not too long down the road.
Yeah, this little boy, 3-year-old Elaine Kurdi, just to say his name again, because he has become the face of this terrible crisis. And we were talking earlier that a lot of these European countries seem to be kicking the can. You know, Hungary saying, well, Germany should be the ones to take them on. That's where they want to go anyway. And I'm reminded of Operation Solomon, which the Israeli government then airlifted over 36 hours, 14,000 Africans into Israel. It can be done if there's a country that's willing to take that chance.
It can be done in a humane and dignified way. The laws are there, the policies are there. It's just about implementing them properly. And really, the essence of it is treating treating people in a humane way, but also treating the root causes, which is the war and the conflict. But in the immediate future is now stepping up the search and rescue operation and making sure that children have their basic needs. That means shelter, protection, psychosocial support, basic health and sanitation. We're moving in water bladders into Gevgelia in Macedonia, but people want to move on because they think that there's certain refuge in only certain countries. So what's required now is really a collective action, collective responsibility, collective way forward, because that's the only way forward. It's a global crisis now. It's beyond just Europe.
And Sarah, just to be clear, too, if this revolution that is happening in Syria, the crisis that we see in Iraq with the rise of the Islamic State, if that went away, these folks would go back to their homes, right? They don't want, this is not like, for example, we see in sub-Saharan Africa, people that are really trying to get to a better life. These are people who are forced to leave their homes because they're being bombed every single day.
Well, we're seeing 80% of those on the move are from Syria and about 5% Iraqis, 5% Afghans. So roughly about 90% seem to be those particularly coming through from the West Balkans tend to be from those three countries. Some are migrants coming in from different parts of the world as well, North Africa and the Middle East too, but the majority are those fleeing persecution. They cannot return. Their schools children's schools have been bombed, destroyed. There's no life for them now. But 8 million within Syria are displaced within Syria. And, of course, the majority of Syrians are moving to countries around Syria, Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan. They've been taking in the majority of Syrians and continue to do that. So it's only a much smaller number who are wanting to flee into Europe looking for refuge.
All right. Such a disturbing situation. Sarah Crowe, thank you.